thanks again for joining us. And from the 15th of December 2022, new series of redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes will be introduced to the Nigerian public. While making the announcement at the Central Bank head office in Abuja, the CBN governor announced the suspension of bank charges for monies deposited to encourage the deposit of existing currencies. He added that the new and old currencies will circulate together until the 31st of January 2023, when the existing currencies shall cease to be a legal tender. While all banks have also been instructed to keep open all currency processing centers from Monday to Saturday. Well, the CBN governor also emphasized that the current notes remain a legal tender until the date stipulated, and that the notes should not be rejected.
And speaking on the reasons that necessitated the need for the printing and redesign of new series of Naira notes, the CBN governor hinted on challenges inhibiting the management of the Naira, to include the worsening shortage of clean and fit banknotes, an increase in the ease and risk of counterfeiting of high denomination notes, and the significant hoarding of banknotes by the public. As at September 2022, available data at the CBN indicates that 2.73 trillion Naira out of 3.23 trillion Naira in circulation is being held by the public.
In recent years, the CBN has recorded significantly higher rates of counterfeiting, especially at the higher denominations of 500 and 1,000 Naira notes, banknotes. Although global best practice is for central banks to redesign, produce and circulate new local legal tender every 5 to 8 years, our existing series of banknotes, the Naira, has not been redesigned in the last 20 years. The bank remains resolutely determined to achieve the objective of its mandate as enshrined in Section 2B of the CBN Act of 2007 to ensure a strong and effective legal tender. It is therefore no longer tenable to continue with business as usual, especially given the continually evolving circumstances that could impeach the optimal performance of our Naira. Furthermore, we believe that the redesign of the currency will help deepen our drive to entrench cashless economy, as it will be complemented by increased minting of our e-Naira. This will further rein in the currency outside the banking system into the banking system, thereby making monetary policy more efficacious. Also, in view of the prevailing level of security situation in the country, the CBN is convinced that the incidence of terrorism and kidnapping will be minimized, as access to large volume of money outside the banking system used as source of funds for ransom payments will begin to dry up.
CBN Governor there, Godwin Emefiele. Well, Nigeria's anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has applauded the move by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to redesign and reissue higher denominations of the Nigerian currency, and that's the Naira. Executive Chairman of the EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bawa, is now calling on operators in the Nigerian financial services sector, especially deposit money banks and bureau de change operators, to work within the guidelines provided by the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure seamless withdrawal of the old currency. Bawa warned that the EFCC will monitor the process to ensure that currency speculators and their cohorts among the BDCs do not undermine the exercise, while urging banks not to assist anyone in laundering suspected proceeds of crimes through their system. While the EFCC is specifically warning bureau de change operators to be wary of currency hoarders who would attempt to seize this opportunity to offload the currencies they had illegally stashed away.
And for a better understanding, economist Paul Alaje joins us now. Paul, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for joining us.
For having me.
Well, before we get into all the nitty-gritty of the reasons why this is happening, but talk to us about the positives and why you believe this has become necessary for Nigeria to think redesigning
Well,
the Naira.
there are a number of reasons why this is very important. First, I will talk about what the central bank governor has not said. There are a number of things that he has mentioned. the cost of printing money, the money we spend, what we call currency or fiat, they come at a cost. Imagine what it was 20 years ago when those currencies were introduced. How much do you think that piece of paper will cost? Given the inflation, given the valuation, and how much it will cost us to reprint them time and again. So it's becoming much, much costlier for Nigeria to spend money to print, and I mean in billions, to keep printing this kind of money in circulation. And it's also very dangerous. It's also very unpredictable for central bank as to what we go back to the banking system. And we also need to look beyond not having this money in the banking system. We also need to look at how many Nigerians are banked. For instance, less than 100 million Nigerians have the BVN out of over 200 million Nigerians. So people who live in some local government, and there are a lot of local governments in Nigeria without banking presence, until the central bank introduced the agency banking, where you now have what is called POS around Nigeria today to cover those that are not banked. So these are issues why we need to do something about the currency that we carry that we call Naira. Again, we have also seen the need for central bank to control people that are hoarding money in their account. But will it be the permanent solution? The truth is that I doubt.
You just took it right out of my mouth. I mean, will this really stabilize the country's monetary policy environment? We heard the EFCC chairman there say that the EFCC, in collaboration, of course, with the CBN, hope that this will stabilize the country's economy. Will it?
Well, I doubt, and I'll be very sincere with you. Central Bank last year introduced Naira, and I spoke to the issue of Naira. A lot of Nigerians were expecting that the Naira has come to substitute the value of Naira, that Naira will be stronger. The truth is that even this, we do nothing regarding value. It will only change the face value. And in economics, it is not the face value that matters. What matters?
What exactly do you mean by that?
That is,
I mean, is it the same when experts say, look, why don't you just do away with the higher denominations? Are you saying the same thing?
If you do away with the higher denomination, the value of the lower denomination has not improved. So what they need to do technically is to redenominate. But Nigeria is not right for the redenomination because we are not increasing outputs. If we are to Ghana tried it. Ghana redenominated without outputs. Without outputs. If you redenominate without increasing output, then you're going to have challenges. But Ghana is not the first to attempt to redenominate. Turkey, Istanbul tried it, and it was a success. At the time it was done because it was merged with production. Africa wants to cut corners to get to an answer. Unfortunately, when it comes to economics of life, there is no shortcut. If you think you get shortcut at the roundabout, of course you will meet it right in front of you.
Paul Alaje, one aspect of the CBN statement that a lot of people found very troubling is the fact that it said 80% of the money in circulation is not in the banks. Let's talk about the implication of this. And would you say this is an indictment on the banks in Nigeria? Because trust me, the CBN will not give Naira to anyone directly. It goes through the banking system.
I agree completely with Mr. Emefiele that over 80%, I think it's more than 80% that are not covered. What we should do is let's leave Abuja, Lagos, and about 13 states. Look at other states. As journalists, I'm sure you have traveled length and breadth of this country. There are local government, I'm not talking about words, local governments in this country without any commercial bank presence. They don't have a presence. You know what that means? How do you expect a farmer in Ohimini? I think Ohimini may have one of the microfinance banks. Ohimini is somewhere in Benue State. Assuming there is no bank in Ohimini, how do you expect a farmer in Ohimini to sell his or her proceed and go to Otukpo, the nearby place you can get a commercial bank, and go to UBA, for instance, in Otukpo, and deposit the money, and when you need it 2 weeks after, you now enter motor, you spend money to enter, to board yourself from your home back to the same Otukpo, then you go back to Imini. It's not convenient. We don't have enough spread of commercial banks or microfinance banks. So there must be something. I've seen the POS initiative, which I call agency banking, is a nice initiative. But can we upgrade it a little so that people's money can be warehoused and people will not need to keep the money in their homes, because it's also very dangerous. So the number of unbanked in Nigeria is very high. And banks cannot knock our doors to say, bring what you have. It must be policy driven. And that is why you see central bank make policy and say we are increasing MPR from 13% to 14%, 14 to 14.5%. Instead of inflation going down, inflation is going up. Right. Especially in the medium term and in the short term. Inflation is still going up. And people say, why are you? Because it has implication. When you continue to increase MPR, and you expect your economy to grow next year, which I doubt, that you're going to have the kind of growth you expect because inflation is not taking it easy, and we continue to increase MPR, we are going to have crisis. Okay. So this could be a reason why central bank is saying, let's start from the beginning, let's reset, especially for this currency, and also it's going to save us costs in terms of what we are spending to print now.
Right. Okay, so what are the other concerns that you have?
So
beyond the fact that some people, especially in the rural area, may be left behind, and how do you even bring in the unbanked? We have about 60 million, Nigerians are unbanked.
A lot of
this move, will it encourage more people to go into the banks?
Well, that I have a new face of currency doesn't mean I'll go to the bank. I think central bank should appoint agents like the agency banking, use them to say collect all the old currency, but next year bring new currency. That is how it has done most of the time. You have new merchandise.
The CBN governor, I was there, he said there's something that we call the token that will be introduced to help those unbanked people really have enough time to be able to exchange.
So that will make sense. The old Naira that we had before this was introduced, it was agents that were appointed. They were going from houses to house, street to street. There were many, and they were getting something small on the number of old currency that they returned. So central bank has done that before, and I believe we do this. But what happens to those that EFCC is talking to? And I think Mr. Bauer is very apt. But how do we curtail politicians? And this is why I'm concerned about the timing. Politicians who want to run next year, we said it's going to end by January.
Yes.
If they exchange the money to dollars and the new currency comes and they change it back to a new currency, have you been able to solve the problem?
They haven't been changing their monies to dollars.
So Mr. Bauer's team is very instrumental, is very useful in this new policy for it to produce the kind of results.
How?
Because central bank alone cannot achieve this. EFCC must have spy on the streets.
Right.
So if you are changing money you don't need, such person must be brought to book. And we will not say that it's because it's political season that EFCC is political. No. We must see EFCC, Mr. Bauer and his team, as being objective, because one of the things that central bank did not mention is what he says, that we are going to monitor and we want BDCs to comply. He has looked beyond the ordinary in this conversation.
Well, at the end of the day, you say the CBN has to work with EFCC and other agencies to curtail the ripple effect of this policy. But Paul Alaje, economist, will say thank you for your analysis tonight.